Good morning and welcome back to What Do You Know?
What do you know?
I know a lot today because I've got
Really?
Emily and Abby with me today, and they did something kind of crazy with me this year. We're-
Emily who?
Redford.
Yeah. And
Abby Litton.
yes, BK?
And BK and H2 all together. And where were we this year, girls?
England and Scotland.
We sure
What?
were.
Yeah, we went on a big trip this spring.
Why?
You wanna
We went for Week Without Walls at FCA.
What is Week Without Walls?
It's a week where we have different opportunities to do school kind of outside of the classrooms, where we kind of just get to learn things that you wouldn't really learn inside a classroom and have like firsthand experiences out in the world.
Yeah.
And we did it during a pandemic.
That's
Oh my
amazing.
goodness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah. A little terrifying, but, part of the experience. So, Abby, take the people through. When did we leave for England and Scotland in terms of what was going on in the world?
Oh, well, there was this little tiny thing called COVID-19, coronavirus, and yeah, well, we didn't really know that it was as big of a deal as it was here yet in like the States. And so we kind of we were cautious about it going out. Weren't sure if we were even going to get to go because we didn't want to take the risk. But our lovely headmaster, Mr. Harris, was just like, you know what?
Out of his mind and let you go.
No, he was like, you know what? Y'all got it. We're going to do this anyway. And then,
Man, what was he thinking?
yeah. And then we got our first case right next to us, actually.
Really?
Yeah. While we
Where?
were there in West Haven.
Oh,
While we were there.
First
No,
case here.
Yeah, first case in the United States. While
Yeah.
we were there. And
Not
then
on
everyone
not on
panicked.
the trip, not in
No,
the
not
group.
On the trip. No,
Yeah.
Not in the group. Just here.
Yeah.
Franklin had their first case, and everyone panicked.
Yeah. Well, but you still got to go.
Oh my
And
goodness, yes.
when did you leave?
When did we leave?
You left March the 10th?
No,
Saturday?
we left early. We left super early. We left on that Thursday,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
we
so-
were there until the 14th.
That was like
Yeah,
the
'cause we had a
7th?
longer
The
trip.
I think the 6th actually we
Sixth.
left. Yeah, which in hindsight, it's a good thing we got there early because things around the world started going down when we got there. And when we were in Scotland, Scotland's already like not a lot of people, but when we were there, it was really not a lot of people in terms of on the trains, out and about. There was hardly anybody. We stayed right by the castle downtown, and there was literally no one there.
Downtown where?
Like, Scotland, Edinburgh, like right,
Edinburgh.
like we're like 5 seconds from the top of the hill where the castle is. And I mean, we saw people, but it wasn't like crowded ever. It was
Yeah.
never like a crowded thing.
So things had already begun to shut down.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Italy had already, gotten bad.
Yeah.
And, we saw a little bit of that in the news, but they were brave and they powered through, and yeah.
How was the flight over? Was there any concern about the flight?
Yeah, actually, I think it was on the way there. We were sitting there and we weren't leaving, and I was sitting by Sheridan and BK, and they stopped.
I forgot about
Yeah,
this.
they just
Yeah.
came over the intercom and were like, "Hey, so we're having to take off a passenger and her kid because they're sick." Like they told us right off the bat, they're like, "We have health concerns or something about these two people, so we're just gonna get them off the plane and we'll be on our way."
Yeah.
So you had already pulled away
No.
from the gate?
Yeah, no, we
No,
hadn't. We
you
were
hadn't.
just sitting there, and we all looked at each other like, "Great, this trip
Yeah.
is starting off with sickness." But I mean, it wasn't anything, but it was kind of concerning just right off the bat.
Right.
Oh no, what are we getting ourselves into?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was definitely the theme of like things were happening the whole time, and of course the end of the trip's the craziest part in terms of like what's going on. But I had forgotten about even that. When we got there, I had this amazing plan of we're gonna save a ton of money and take the train from London to Edinburgh on the first day. That's not a quick plane or train ride; it's like a 6-hour thing. But
Yeah.
the craziest thing was just getting on the train in terms of like, this is the train you need to be on. Oh, American luggage is way bigger than British luggage,
Yeah.
and finding a place for it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call anyone out, but there was some people's luggage.
So you didn't have the one bag.
no,
It's got to fit in the overhead policy like some other people have?
That would have been too intelligent.
Yeah.
I
I don't know
did
about
not.
that.
I
but
did not hit that.
That is on my trips. When I take a trip, that is required. You have to have one bag, and it's got to fit in the overhead, so we don't have to check bags. And getting on trains and going up steps, and having to cross over, lugging those things around. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
That
what
was
did-
the
girls,
best part.
Tell him about what it was
Yeah.
like at night when we
Oh
arrived at our
my
destination.
gosh. So we got off of the train and we didn't really know exactly, where we were in relation to where we were staying was. All we knew was that we needed to get up a couple, 100 flights of stairs. So
out of the train.
after the train station, we kind of walked a little bit and then realized that there was like 10 flights of stairs we needed to get to the Royal
Mhm.
Mile, which was where we were staying.
And those steamer luggage cases that you had.
Yeah.
Those old stone steps
Yeah, I
of
was gonna
Edinburgh
say,
were
it
not very
was-
forgiving.
They're very
Yeah.
old and just cobblestone, and you're
And-
like, oh my.
And they
Yeah.
were one after the
Intimidating.
other. Wasn't like
Yeah.
Yep.
no escalators.
Yep. And then our place was like that too, a spiral stone staircase that went up like 5 flights.
No elevator?
I had this
No.
great no.
No.
I had this great plan of like, oh, well, these people stay in this room. Nope, just you go there. Just
See,
go.
That's
Just
part
go.
of Week Without Walls. You learn how to travel. And you learn how to do without things.
Or you
Re-
learn how to get in shape so you can carry what
Yeah.
you need to take with you.
Or
Yeah.
you make one of the senior guys carry it for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. You can
Yeah.
do it that way.
It ended
Yeah.
up happening like
that
that. So
works.
see,
Or
they
you
got
don't.
rewarded. The guys ended up on the top floor, so I guess we did get the best view, and we accidentally got the 2 biggest rooms. It was supposed to be the 2 girl rooms. So like me and
Oh.
Beecher and Parker had like like 3 bedrooms, but it was part of the experience.
And where were the girls? Were they?
the first rooms as we went up, it was just
Oh.
like
That was a good move.
yeah. So, but the place we stayed at it was perfect for location because we were literally right there in terms of like they were beside everything. We're on the Royal Mile, that stretch that goes from the ocean all the way to the castle. So that was good. And I made them walk a lot,
Well,
believe it or not.
And yeah, that's part of a
Yeah.
European experience. Where did you stay? What was the name of the place?
It's called Edinburgh Apartments, Stay Edinburgh, and they have like kitchens and everything. So
Oh,
some
okay.
some
Like
of
an
you all
efficiency.
fix food and stuff.
Yeah.
Me and Parker and Beecher, we were like, no, we can't. We're not capable. So we went to
No.
breakfast and
Yeah.
all that. But yeah, I think that being in Edinburgh, this was my 3rd time, and right off the bat, I noticed that like there was less people and everything. But I think because of that, their experience got to be even better than my first one. But right off the bat, we walked down there, and you were in the group that met the guy talking about Harry Potter. Like as soon as we got
Oh
there,
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So
What
what
was
was that? Yeah.
Well, there was just we were kind of walking and talking about all the things that we had seen, I guess, and what looked familiar because I mean, a lot of the book was written based off the things that she had seen in this area or whatever. And we were just talking about it like, oh, it looks like this, and I've heard that this comes from this part of the book. And this guy was like, are y'all traveling here? And we're like, yeah, we're from the United States, just trying to learn a little bit.
Not that it wasn't obvious.
Not that we were clearly tourists. And he was like, well, I could tell you a little bit about Harry Potter and how it relates. And we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, go for it. And so he was just walking us around, showing us all the different sites from the book and from the movie and how they looked so similar. And it was really cool. I haven't really seen it, so I couldn't relate it, but my brother shows me this stuff all the time. So it was really cool to see how it connected and how her vision came to life through
Yeah.
this place that we had never been before.
So, the history of Edinburgh. Give me some of that. Why is it significant?
Yeah, what did you learn there? That's a good question. Did you? No, nothing. Well, here's a question.
No, I think. Come on now, you learned something about Edinburgh.
Yeah, after being to Edinburgh, what's the difference? Because America, Edinburgh, very different. Like, what did you learn just in terms of like what you saw there versus what you see here, what you see around like Franklin and stuff?
It was definitely kind of a culture shock because, I mean, the people just act different and they're not as, I don't know, they just have a different kind of like facade to them. And
Well, okay, the way it looks is very different than the way that the United States looks. It's not
Architecture.
the architecture. Yeah, it's not big, huge skyscrapers and big cities. Well, I mean, I guess it is a big city, but it's not like the way we think of it. So going there, I was expecting the cobblestone paths and stairs and all this kind of stuff, but I wasn't expecting it to the degree that we saw. And literally everything was just so beautiful and different. And the sites that we got to see, like Loch Lomond, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I think. Yes, I
Oh,
remember.
well done.
And just all like the kelpies, even it was so different and just beautiful. And I don't know, I don't have any other words to describe it other
Well,
than
so
magnificent.
the university was established
Yes.
when?
In 1583.
We took a little
Oh.
stroll through the university to
did.
see
It
if
was really
anyone,
cool.
you know, I had one on my first trip to Edinburgh. One of the people that went and we walked through there ended up going there because they
Oh,
were like, "This,
wow.
this was just where I want to study."
This would be amazing.
We got it. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Me and
I
Abby
mean,
will definitely have to get in.
I don't know many places where you can study and in your apartment you could see a former volcano and a castle all at the same time.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
Well,
something on the
and
list.
that's only like 500 years prior to current
Yeah.
day and 200 and some odd years earlier than the founding of the U.S. So, there's a little history. A few things have happened there in Scotland. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where else did you guys go?
So we started off in Edinburgh. We stayed there for like 5 days. But the tour, Doogie, we cannot have this
Ugh.
podcast and not talk about Doogie. So Mr.
He's a
Harris has no
king.
idea who Doogie is.
Doogie.
Yeah, but so one of you all want to take us through that would have been that was our last tour. That was when we went on the really long bus ride.
He just
to-
wants to skip Joe. That's all.
He just
He just doesn't even want to
Our
bring back
Well,
let's-
no,
memories.
let's
we're
of
gonna
Joe.
go back.
something-
We're gonna cover Joe and the hotel and
Okay.
all at the same
Oh,
time.
okay. Of course, we covered
Okay.
I'm
that.
saying
Okay.
the end of if you're listening to this podcast, the end of this podcast is going to be hilarious, and I mean you got to stick around to hear the end of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
course.
let's start with Doogie because, like, he's a full Scottish experience.
Oh my.
That's true.
Oh my.
So
Well,
take H2.
Who's Doogie?
We can start off by saying that he was in the full Scottish wardrobe. The
Ah.
kilt, the
uniforms
the
next year?
whole-
School uniforms.
oh, absolutely. When we're not here. But he was super Scottish, just like his voice, his tone of voice, and he had a little box of shortbread that he gave us just
Oh,
because
yeah.
he was such a nice guy. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna show you everything, and like, I just want you guys to have a good time."
Could you
And
understand him?
Yeah, a little bit. I
Kind
mean,
of.
I could
Yeah.
understand him, but it was like sometimes when he would say words, I'd be like, "Oh, well, don't know what that really means." But
And
it was
the
just sometimes.
Scottish brogue.
Yeah.
to the day it was his 30th year anniversary of being a tour guide.
Wow.
So it was a very emotional kind of day for him when I got to talk to him kind of alone. It was like a big deal that he was getting to take us on this tour. And, I gave them like an itinerary of like, kind of an idea. And he just took over and just like, "Nah, we're going to do this." And I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
cool."
Cool.
Um,
Yeah.
But he took you all to a real castle. So do you remember what was so cool about the real castle that we went to?
Calabria?
Yeah. What was cool about it?
I just thought
When-
it was awesome.
When you went in there, was it like every other castle you
oh
go to?
no.
Yeah. All the
I mean,
other
it was
castles
run
you've been
like
to?
it was like run down, I guess.
Yeah.
Obviously, there wasn't like
wasn't
a
a
roof
museum.
or no, yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was just I don't know. It was just run down, I guess.
Yeah.
You just walked in. You were just walking through the rubble of what this castle used to be,
Mm.
and I don't know. It was quiet because there weren't tourists there. We were there by ourselves almost the whole time, and
You got to actually
Yeah.
explore too. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like they could climb up on the wall. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like one of those places
Oh,
where
yeah.
you got to actually kind
You
of
could
experience
stand
it a
behind the
little.
rope. You got to
Yeah, you didn't
really-
just go stand behind some rope and stare out. You got to actually like climb
Yeah.
around on a castle, which was
yeah,
kinda-
and he gave us our tour guide gave us swords and helmets and
He was
shields.
like, "You guys should, act out what it was really like." So
There
he
you
brought
go.
us swords, shields, and fun stuff, and he was like, "All right, just go at it."
And so we were
and-
sword fighting the whole
Yeah,
time.
We
It was
just
super
ran
fun.
around like this stone castle with nothing in
That's
it,
great.
just fighting each other
Yeah.
and climbing up into the little like stairwells and singing Frozen songs from the top
was a
up.
lot of
No,
Frozen
no, no,
songs
no, no,
going
no.
on.
You weren't singing Frozen songs in the
Oh,
castle.
yes, we
Yeah,
were.
in a Scottish
Oh,
castle.
no.
So this is the only Scottish castle on the border with England. So
Okay.
it would have been like the actual
Yeah.
one. And
Right,
so
that's
like we
where-
stopped at the river where it's like it separates Scotland and England.
Right.
And we have a great picture of Doogie and Sawyer and some others posing, and Emily. And who else is in that picture? Maybe Bethany.
Bethany.
Bethany was in every picture, but they're posing like they're invading, and it's just
Ah.
I need to
That's
get it
super
blown up
fun.
and printed out.
Did you get to go to Bannockburn?
No, so like we didn't get to do that or Loch Ness,
Yeah.
or we didn't go up in the Highlands. I kind of wish we would take a trip in the Highlands.
You could
But
spend a whole week
you
just
could.
there in Scotland. And,
Yeah.
And
I spent the first time I spent a week up at Skye, which I've told them about Skye, where it's like 40 people live there maybe, and for 3 hours you can't find anybody.
yeah.
But time was limited, and the last 2 days were the ones I was worried about because in Scotland, you kept seeing the news and it was like, oh, everything's great. Meanwhile, all my chaperones are having secret meetings with me every night, and they're all terrified. And they're like, "You seem like you're perfectly fine." I was like, "Just a duck on the pond, you
Yeah.
know. Underneath the surface, my feet are like this, and on the top, no, it's great.
Woohoo.
We're wonderful. We're good."
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, I was kind of fingers crossed, hoping I got stuck in Scotland for a couple of months.
Darn.
Yeah, but it didn't work
I'm
out.
not sure all the
Yeah,
your students might have shared the same
Oh
sentiment.
no, I definitely
I
did.
definitely
Oh,
would've
really?
Oh, yeah.
rather
You,
been
you
there.
would have wanted to stay there.
When there was the chance that we might be getting stuck, like Suriname did, I was like, oh yeah. It's like, all right.
Please.
yeah. We just
Yeah.
we just wanted to get stuck in Scotland
Yeah.
because I think everyone after being in Scotland, the pace of Scotland and where
Yeah.
you can go eat
Yeah.
and it's just so easy.
Mm.
And it reminds me of Tennessee a lot of ways in terms of the hills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the people are really friendly, and that's kind of
Yeah.
Scotland. Just you can talk to people and they'll tell you, "Hey, you should go here." do
It's
this."
it's on my list. I've never been. I really.
He was almost going to go. With us.
Yeah, I came real close to going. I wished I could have. I'm kind of glad I didn't though, because things were.
You needed to be able to help
Getting
manage
crazy.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were dealing with the Suriname.
Yeah.
group.
Speaking of crazy, the last 2 days were in London, and
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
London is one of the biggest cities of the world,
Yep.
and this was whenever, as soon as we got to London, I had already seen on my phone, not conveyed to them that
Cases
travel bans were coming
right.
around across the nation, and we
Yeah.
were going to leave London in 2 days to fly back to America, and there was a lot of misinformation going around about America was going to close their border that day,
right.
which that was true, but not for American citizens. It was
Right,
going to
yeah.
extend it. But when we got to the
Minor
hotel,
detail.
yeah, I mean, there was a mass exodus of Americans that thought that they had to go home immediately.
Right.
Whereas I was like, no, we're good.
You got
we
you
have
got a ticket.
tickets.
You have
Let's not try to
reservations.
switch them.
And were you flying back into New York?
We were going straight. So I got lucky. It was Nashville to London,
Oh,
and
that's
London straight
right.
to
I
Nashville.
forgot about that.
My plane
They
tickets-
just started that flight this year.
They did. I got one of the the only reason I think we could do this trip was those plane tickets were so cheap and
Yeah.
it was direct, so we didn't lose any time.
Oh man.
So it worked out great, but
Too bad you didn't have to experience the layover and
Right.
go to New York and change planes
Darn.
and
Yeah.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah, that would have been
Sucks.
so
Yeah.
much fun.
Yeah. No, but it does make the trip different.
It
I mean,
does.
it really has an impact because it's a longer flight.
Yeah.
You're more you have layover,
Right.
hangover, and
Yeah,
it just makes it difficult. But
absolutely.
that's cool.
So, I think we need to save the best for last. So, London, y'all take H2 through what you're experiencing in London because no one will ever have an experience like you all did because
Yeah.
16 million people city and it was like a ghost town pretty much. But take them through y'all's because all of our experiences in London are different because we were all kind of.
So did you start by going back on the train? The return trip was
Yes.
Oh,
by
yeah.
a train as
We
well.
Yeah.
got on a train from Scotland to London, and weren't we like one of the last trains out of
Yeah, they
Scotland?
shut the trains down. So
Mhm.
there's a
Wow.
theme to these last 2 days of
Uh-huh.
the Scotland train stopped running after we got off. And getting on the train was an experience
my
because half the group got separated. Me and Bethany
Oh,
were
no.
literally
We were
like
on the wrong
stepping
part.
onto the back of the plane or the back of the train at the last minute.
So
got yelled at.
what was the rule? What was the policy if you got separated?
We just
Cry?
sit down and wait till you get. Oh, well, BK did have a little bit of a mental breakdown on that train.
On that train.
Because he
once
got-
we were on, especially.
Yeah, he got a fun little email from H2 over there saying that there's a possibility of online school and that, like,
Oh, I know. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be an online school
Mhm.
teacher.
Yeah.
He
So
was
I
like-
wasn't worried about that. Half my group was somewhere else. I really wasn't worried. You want to know why? Because the first half of the group, Mia was updating me that she was sitting next to the semi-pro rugby team in the first car.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that
I
was
forgot about
an
that.
experience in and of itself.
yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah.
Were they? Did they look like rugby players?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Were they?
Oh, yeah.
That
Yes, they
rugged,
did.
square-jawed.
Oh yeah, we've got plenty. Mia sent us
Movie
all the
star?
pictures.
Yeah.
Oh,
We have
all
bunch
the
of
pictures.
Oh,
And these were the young
yeah.
guys too. They,
Oh,
you know,
they were
not
the
the
young-
old
Mm,
grizzled.
no.
They didn't get
Yeah.
to see what rugby does to you after
Yeah,
2 years.
with the ears half bitten off and
the before.
scars.
And France and Scotland played their last rugby game of the season too before they got shut down that week. And I would have taken us, but I just didn't. When I was searching, I didn't find it. But
Mm.
I'm kind of glad we didn't because I'm sure that would have been the worst spot to be during that
Right.
time. But
Yeah.
we drove by it on the way back. But so we were supposed to go to the London Eye in England. We were supposed to go to a play in downtown to see Wicked. And then other than that, it was
Oh.
just going to be like, let's go look around, see what we can see. So how did your because my day started differently than yours. So that day in London, what did you all do first?
Okay, well, I'm not gonna lie. On the way to London, or whenever we found out we couldn't do anything, because the rule right off the bat was that we weren't allowed to go anywhere. We had to stay in our hotel
Right.
until we went to the airport to leave. So I was frustrated because I had paid. Well, I didn't pay. My parents paid because it was a gift. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Love you. But my parents
Nice recovery.
paid for me to go on this trip. I don't want them hearing this and thinking that I took the credit. I did not do anything.
Yeah.
So my parents paid for me to go on this trip, and I wanted to experience England. I'd heard all the things, and London was super cool. So I was upset, but we got there, and they had dinner set up we somehow got this dinner. What even happened with that? How did we
So-
get that?
The hotel was basically vacant. All the Americans had bailed out of the Marriott hotel, so it was like a ghost town. This was supposed to be like it's a 5-star hotel, supposed to be packed to the gills, and so the restaurant had even closed. And that first night I didn't really know what to do. Luckily, I had budgeted really well, so I had extra money. So I was like, "Well,
Well
will you
done.
just stay open and fix food for us? And I know it'll be a ridiculous price, but we'll just pay it, and then that solves tonight. And tomorrow will be a whole nother day." So we ate there tonight, stayed in. News out of Italy was horrible.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
I'll
so
never forget that the rest of
It's
my
now
life.
like the 12th.
Yeah,
it's like Wednesday
the
of-
night of
the-
the 12th. Yeah, March 12th. So like stock markets is going to crash on the 16th. The
Yeah.
whole economy's shut down.
That's when
Travel
Trump
bans the
Trump had
14th.
come on with his speech. That
Yeah.
was Wednesday night.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
yeah.
out of Italy, we see that the army's been deployed and they're picking up. You know, there's like 60,000 coffins or something.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the Italy Prime Minister live say to a whole group of nurses that were being promoted to active duty, you know, I know that, you know, it was like 15% of you are not going to survive this, but you're serving your country.
Wow.
And I remember being like, what?
Yeah.
You know, like
What
just,
just happened?
you know, stuff's happening.
So go ahead.
yeah, so now.
Oh, I just was gonna say I was gonna let her do it the next
Oh,
morning.
the next morning.
But yeah, I just remember we had dinner. We were all kind of bummed that we weren't, because we didn't think we were going to be able to do anything at all. But we were excited to just be in London. And not to mention the hotel rooms were super nice. So if we had to be stuck anywhere, our hotel rooms, some were better than others.
You
We'll
know,
get
they
there in
were
a little
nice.
bit.
Yeah.
They were semi-nice.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they were
Oh,
up to
don't
par.
start. No.
We'll
No,
save
no,
this
no.
for a second.
Well,
We'll save
no.
it.
Anyway.
So Emily, the next morning, what did you do first? Because like your group, you went out. What did you go see
Mhm.
first, or how did you get to where you were going?
Yeah, so I was in a hotel room with Mia Negrado and Sheridan, and we woke up and we heard that one of our chaperones took a couple of the boys out to see London. We were like, wait, I didn't know we were allowed to go, but one of Logan knew his mom was a chaperone, so obviously his mom let him go.
Logan.
So, you know, Logan, whatever.
Yeah. So you were with Bethany, or no,
Mm-mm.
oh, Blue's dad.
Yes, so
That's
we
right. That's right.
were upset that we didn't get to go, and we were like, well, what if my parents give us permission? Like what if we do that? So then one of the guys on our trip, his dad, he was there for work, And he was like, well, I mean, I can take some people around if their parents are okay with it. So we had all of our parents on the phones. We're like, Mom, please let me go walk around
Which
London.
was like 3 in the morning
Yeah,
in
it
America
was-
or
it was
something
like-
like
Yeah.
that.
really early.
I'm texting with BK going,
Yeah.
all right, we're staying in. Well, they want to go out.
Right. And that's
Well-
what shocked you because you were like,
What?
what? Because the assumption would have been, okay, well, it's been a good trip, whatever.
Yeah.
And then at 3 in the morning, it's a hard time to get parents on the phone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but we called them and they were like, "Oh yeah, like we want you to go, like have fun, be safe, because you're probably not gonna be able to do anything fun for a while because
Yeah,
this
back
pandemic."
here. Yeah.
So we got with Blue's dad. It was a group of us. You were in that group, right, Abs? Yeah. And we got on the subway, which usually the subways are like really crowded, but it wasn't that crowded
Yeah.
because no
Yeah,
one
at
really wanted
all.
to
You'll
be.
never
There's
experience
nobody
that
on it.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Everybody had pretty much started shutting down.
Oh
Yep.
yeah. And so we got on the subway and we went to like the kind of downtown London area where Big Ben and the London Eye
Piccadilly
are.
Square, all
Mhm.
that.
And we went to our tickets for the London Eye were for the day before, which was when we were supposed to, go. But then we had to go back to the hotel. No tea, no shade. Just
Yeah.
saying.
The London Eye. So there was 3 groups.
Oh my gosh,
There was,
BK. Here we go
Oh
again.
yeah. How about we just
There's
keep
was-
talking about this?
There was, the first group was the Logan's group, and
Uh-huh.
then out Bethany and Sawyer with them, and then Blue's dad's group, and then the last group was the group of
The parents didn't wake up early enough.
yeah, stragglers. There was like 4 of us,
Yeah.
but they were with me, so it was okay because one, I knew what subway to get on to catch up to people pretty quick. I kind of figured, it just goes, and then the London Eye. Did you all go on it?
No, because
Mhm.
I ran out of money.
Yeah, we all
Oh.
kind of ran out of money.
See, there's
How
doing
did
things
that
in a
happen?
hurry,
Okay.
and then there's sticking with BK.
Actually,
Ah.
I didn't run out of money, but I knew that there was still time left of the trip, so I
Right.
had to save some.
You
Because
were
if I
Yeah,
had
budgeting.
it was like
spent,
$40.
yeah, if I had spent the 40 whatever, then I wouldn't have had any left. So
For
I had to
what?
save a
What-
little.
For the London Eye, to get up in the big Ferris wheel, the
Oh,
Coca-Cola,
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
and see
London Eye,
all
yeah.
London.
Yeah, for BK the price is just a little bit different.
You
for
know-
the London Eye.
It just didn't exist.
It just didn't exist at all.
my greatest skill in life is traveling and
on a budget.
becoming best friends with strangers.
Yeah.
Best friends is
Stick
the
with
word I choose.
BK.
So in Scotland, there was a bus driver. Can't remember her name, but
we
talks.
love Joe.
we
love
do love
Joe.
Joe. She was really fun. Joe was
Honest
also
Joe.
one of those people out there living a different kind of life. She had just gotten back from living 4 months in Indonesia
Oh,
or
yeah.
somewhere, just
She's a traveling
living,
queen.
Just traveling.
just traveling.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to Scotland and is tour guide, and then goes back somewhere else.
We're not asking where the money comes from.
But in London, so that day it's me, Mia, Ella, and Rihanna, and we catch up to them at the London Eye, and they're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And I was like, "Just come with me." And I walked in this like room, like so the London Eye's over here, and I go over to this other shop over here where the workers kind of are, and there's a big line. And there's a guy there, and I looked at him, and I literally told Ella, I was like, this guy's going to be my best friend. He just had the look of someone that would hang out with me. And I went up to him, talked to him, and we immediately, like, just kind of hit it off. And I was like, so we were supposed to go on it last night. He was like, don't worry about it. Come with me. He walks us past the line.
Wow.
We never stopped walking. We walk onto a moving, like, pod of the Ferris wheel. Didn't pay. We just all walked straight on past the line.
Did he work for the London Eye?
He did. I
Okay.
call Madeline, and I am talking to her from it because she has just gotten off it. She's like, we had to wait in line for this. I was like, that's funny. You should look up here. So even though they left before, we had already caught up and got on. It was tragic.
And did you have to pay?
No.
No.
I'm
and you
surprised
paid
he didn't
40
pay
and
me.
you
No,
paid $40?
I didn't
We
pay.
didn't.
We didn't pay, and we just didn't
Oh.
go on it
Why didn't you?
because we
You
weren't
were-
with him.
Oh, you were in the other group.
No,
Other
but
group.
it stinks because
Ah.
the only reason that the 3 of them were with him was because they didn't want to go out. And
Yeah, it was
BK
like a
ended up
delay.
having to tell them, listen, you can't stay in the hotel by yourself, so you got to call your parents. Like,
Yeah.
you got to ask,
Right.
at least, because you can't be here by yourself. So
And
they were like, fine, I guess we'll call. Like,
And I was legit worried at this point because I had 2 groups in London of people that have never been to London spread out. And I'm like, London's like a big,
Yeah.
And
It's
so
a
I was starting to
metropolis.
think like I need to catch up with people just,
yeah,
Uh,
being the great
Right.
sponsor and
Yes. And
teacher.
H2, I didn't want to leave the hotel because
yeah, right.
the night before, when we got to the hotel,
Oh, yeah.
all the Americans had been very rude leaving the hotel
Oh
to the
my
girl working the
gosh, I
front
forgot
desk.
about
And she
And
was
I
not a happy
came in
camper.
acting nice and wonderful and
Right.
talking to her and making her laugh. And so she may have upgraded my room.
Oh,
That's
Let's
called
just
London
let's
charm.
just say he flirted his way into a free hotel room.
really?
Oh,
Oh,
no, not
very
just a
much.
hotel
The
room. It was a
executive
suite.
It was a
Not-
suite.
Not just an upgrade, but free.
Like I had 2 living rooms
Yes.
in my hotel.
For free.
Okay.
Because he has the London
oh,
charm.
yes. Well, it's that American,
Yeah.
Appalachian
It is.
It
East
was
That's what it
something.
is.
It was something. We
East
don't really
That's what
Tennessee
it
know.
drawl
is.
that was.
We were
Yeah.
just standing here
Causing her to-
watching it too. We're in the
Yeah.
like lobby area because he was telling
And-
us all to go wait.
And why are you
And-
frustrated about that?
How does this keep happening? I just don't understand how this is like it happened multiple times. It wasn't like
See,
if it was once, it's like, oh, okay, like I'll give it to you.
Part
but
of the reason for Week Without Walls is learning about other cultures and how to operate, because this man has traveled. He
operate is a
knows-
good word
Yeah.
for flirting.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
mean,
well, no. He's not necessarily flirting. He's making
yeah.
he's making connections.
Oh, my
and, it may, for you, it may feel like it was that, but this
Right.
was,
Right.
you know, it's being the international man of travel
Yes.
and
Yes.
Very
Yeah, it's
much.
very suave. And, I mean, if
Cosmopolitan.
I was
Okay,
flirting, I
okay,
would have had the
BK.
whole top floor of the hotel.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's
it's
true.
just unrealistic to expect. But the night of the last night, we got to do something really cool. We got to go to Wicked.
This was one of my favorite parts.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah,
One of my favorite parts of the whole trip.
Perfect way to end the trip.
yeah.
How many
Wicked in
people-
London.
Yeah,
Wow.
it wasn't even half of our group maybe didn't go. It was nighttime, so it made sense. Like you kind of got to make a decision now. It's the last night in London. You've had a great trip. Do you want to go out into ride the subway? So a few didn't go.
Oh,
But
they
then
didn't? I thought.
a few didn't go, but
Oh,
the theater was half empty, sold out. Downtown London, Wicked. Pretty
Yeah.
much the most popular show
But
there.
probably one of the last shows.
One
if
of the
not last show.
It was the last. So
Wow.
we saw Wicked. I mean, y'all can talk about it, but it was just it's the best musical I've ever
Wow.
seen.
It
Me
is a
too.
great one. I
Me
saw
too.
it here.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah. Subway afterwards was there. There was hardly anybody on the
No,
subway that
there's-
night.
It's very empty.
Everyone
we got to
could
go get
sit
food.
down.
We got to go get food after,
Yeah.
which was fun.
Where did
It's
they
a
eat their last
KFC.
meal?
KFC.
KFC.
What?
The last
and
meal at London?
Starbucks.
No.
On the way back to
It was the
hotel, there
only
was
thing that
like
was open.
Starbucks,
Actually-
Burger King, and like
And I got
KFC.
Krispy Kreme from the little store that was there.
And
So
it
we
all-
had a very American
It all
meal.
tasted the same, right?
Yeah, very,
Of
very
course.
much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a very tourist American-y thing to do.
They closed. I was the last one off of my subway car. They closed our subway car after we got off.
Wow.
They literally roped it off as soon as we got off. The subway stopped running that night. So we were the London Underground. We were on the last London Underground ride. And I think to myself, I'm like, if the Underground wasn't working that night, me trying to put them in taxis and
Oh,
Ubers
yeah.
that night to get back to the hotel.
That'd have been an
it-
adventure.
uh,
So tell me about the end of the trip that we all can't wait for.
Well, so that was their part would
upgrade.
have been the whole upgrades and free London Eyes, and
Mhm.
we did eat at my favorite place now to eat in London.
The
and
lamb and flag.
yes,
That was so good.
it was literally like 500 years old.
It was
Mhm.
so cool.
And who was used to be they used to box in it. It's a little pub, like
Nice.
2-story old. They used to box in it. And which rider was it? This is bad. I can't remember this. Which rider was it?
I couldn't tell you.
One of the famous riders used to write there before the box.
Like a C.S. Lewis or
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It was one that you wouldn't kind of expect. But that must not have been that memorable. But the food was memorable.
Oh, yeah.
Food was
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, the lamb and flag. We took a picture in front of it. But just kind of an incredible little place. The
Oh,
ultimate
yeah.
London place. Maybe 15 feet wide,
Yeah.
2 stories, real small. I think that's the part about Europe and England and Scotland specifically that was like, it's these small little places, not fast.
Tucked away.
Yeah, it was in
away.
the
Knows
just tucked
about-
away in the back. We had to like
Yeah.
go down some back.
How'd you find
Little
out about
streets
it?
for it.
Somebody.
Blues Dad.
Blues
the-
Dad.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't the lady at the counter at
No.
Marriott.
No.
I wouldn't have been
Oh.
surprised if it had been.
Alas, it wasn't.
No.
But the last day when we go to the airport will be an experience that, like, if you were going to write a whole story about like weirdness.
Oh yeah.
Heathrow Airport,
Yeah.
silent
Nobody
pretty
there.
much,
Wow.
but
Silent,
thousands of
packed.
people
Yeah, it was
packed.
packed.
It was
Oh,
I
packed.
got there
packed.
6 hours early with our group, about 6 hours
Yeah.
early, and if I didn't, I mean, we were close to not. I mean, we were about an hour from our flight, but the line was really long. Thousands of people. I talked to some people that had been to other countries. If you had been to another country, you were going through New York no matter what. So we were lucky enough, but I had to tell the kids, like, you have to tell them you've only been to England, Scotland, not Europe. Because if you've been to Europe,
yeah, they're going to
you were
shut
going to
you
get
down.
funneled through New York. And thousands and thousands of people, and they closed the Saudi Arabia border while we were in line. And I watched a Saudi Arabian family just fall to the floor crying.
Wow.
They couldn't go home.
And it was quiet because everybody
Everybody
was
was
just
tense.
tense.
You saw the border
nervous.
closing.
Not because they all had masks
and
on.
there was a
Oh,
lot
there
of
were
worry.
no masks.
Yeah.
Like we didn't wear masks the entire trip because
No.
that just wasn't a thing.
They hadn't
Right.
happened yet. And then the security line, a lot of, I don't know if you all experienced this where you were at, is there was a lot of confusion about no one wanted to get pulled out of security, and Heathrow's kind of strict. So people were throwing away like hand sanitizer and stuff because they're pretty strict on those things anyway.
Yeah.
But it was a little close. I mean, we got there 6 hours early, and we had about an hour extra in terms of like getting through,
Because they were really they were checking temperatures. Were they doing that yet?
I don't think they checked
Mm-mm.
temperatures.
Huh.
No, but they were
wanting to know where you'd come from.
yeah, they wanted to know where you were coming from, so that, and a lot of people were getting rerouted.
Yeah.
So Blues Dad had
was
to go
this
to New York.
You had to go
was
through
this
New
going
York.
through customs for the U.S. or was
This
it
was
going,
no, this was in Heathrow in England. Customs in the U.S. was
But
standard.
they didn't have a customs in London that you went through.
No, we just
Okay.
went through. They were really just all they cared about was, well, where have you been?
Sometimes they'll put up a customs on that side so that kind
Right.
of
Sawyer
streamlines
said
it.
Europe on accident, but he corrected
Ruh-roh.
it fast enough to not get pulled
Yeah.
out of the line.
well, and you had a passport that didn't show you
Right.
having been
Right.
someplace else.
And I mean, he's technically not wrong. England, Scotland's in Europe, but
Yeah.
that they wanted to be sure. Even if you had been to Ireland, it would have been a problem. But like based on who you at that time, it was kind of an evolving situation. But our plane was maybe half full on the way back
Yeah, there
because it
weren't
was
people.
literally we were in the air when the actual travel ban went down, and I
Mm.
remember the flight attendant being like worried because she's British. She was supposed to stay in America that night, and
right, and go
and
home.
of course they let that flight go back because they weren't
Yeah.
about to. But there was so much confusion on who was going to get to go where. But on March 14th of 2020, we were literally on one of the last flights out of London.
Yeah.
So you got to experience something kind of strange that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of like when 9/11 happened. I think we talked about this. We flew in November to India, our family, and we went through Paris, and just flights in November in 2001 was just very strange. The airports, the security was even stricter than ever. It's one of those you remember where you were and what you were doing.
Right.
And so, what do you think was the overall memory maker? What you learned on this trip? What was the thing you take away?
Okay, mine. This is so just like I don't. Mine was just the experience with the people that was there. Like I seriously would not have picked a different group to go with because I didn't know all of these people super
Yeah.
close going on to it. I knew them well, but not as well as I did when we came back.
Mhm.
And just being able to make memories with people that you care about
Yeah.
and people that you learn to love through 1 week is
Right.
just it was. I don't know. I just wouldn't have wanted to make any of the memories that I made with anybody else.
Yeah.
It was so fun. It was just the best.
Emily.
I think overall mine was just like being in a different, like culture because I've never really been to another country as
Yeah.
different than the U.S. and I don't know. I just kind of liked having a different view on life for a week. I was like, well, these people are so nice and they don't really care about everything that Americans care about, and it was just kind of nice to be in a different like atmosphere and see
Different
things I never
culture.
seen.
Yeah.
Most fun I've ever had on a trip was in one of was it your room at night? Whose room was it? There was
Ours.
one with a living
Probably
room.
ours.
At night, the end of every day, everyone pretty much went in the living room, dining room of one of these apartments because we had apartments in the hotels, and everyone just hung out every night. And that was probably the most fun on a trip I've had in a long time because it was like, yes, we just did all this, saw castles, but just getting to hang out with everyone in another country and
Yeah.
away from all the stuff that you think about deal with here
Right.
was really cool. And I didn't see people on their phones for like hours at a time, and I was
Yeah.
so
That
Good.
sounds insane.
just blown away. You know, like it was just
Yeah.
an experience that
Well, it gets you out of the routine. It gets you out of the normal humdrum, and you see a different part of the world, and it gives you perspective. And that's why we want to do Week Without Walls. We want to get outside of the normal, everyday routine and give you the opportunity to see different things that you wouldn't see. And you have a whole different perspective for Scotland, that history. You saw those places rather than looking at a textbook or reading about it. You've been there. You have the smells, the taste, the people, and you get to do it with people and just that experience of getting outside of your own comfort zone, the travel, the loss of sleep, the things that go along with living out a suitcase for 10 days. What is that like? And having an opportunity to see and hear from different people, different from Williamson County and the bubble that we live in, I think is foundational. I mean, I think every kid, every student, every person should travel and see different parts of the world. It truly gives you an understanding that you can't get by staying in your own place. And so I think sometimes people are afraid to travel. They think, oh, something bad's going to happen, or, I don't know what the food's going to taste like, or I don't know how the people are going to act. And there's this fear of the unknown. But man, travel is a great way to learn and see and help you understand, okay, why is it that we're here doing what we're doing, and some of the things that we do enjoy. Some places you go to and you're like, I don't ever go back there. Some parts of the world are really difficult, but they give you perspective. And so it's hard to do that sitting at your house in the basement, somewhere. So I'm just glad you guys took the risk and, spent the time and effort and energy and the friendships and the memories that you make from doing that. I mean, it's invaluable because it's going to make you want to travel even more. Where's the next place? Where is the next place you want to go? What do you want to do? What are you thinking about?
Like my next travel destination?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted to go to Italy and France,
Yeah.
but recently I've really been interested in going to Greece.
That's what I was gonna say. Oh
Well, then you need to go to Greece with Miss Harris.
Oh, I would love to go to Greece with Miss Harris.
Yeah, that's an awesome trip. We had a Week Without Walls in
Mhm.
Greece.
I think it was my 6th grade year y'all did
Probably
that because I was
so,
like,
yeah.
oh my goodness,
Well,
I want to do that one day.
2015. Yeah.
So on this episode of What Do You Know, we learned that traveling might be a great form of education.
Absolutely. No
Thank
question.
you for joining us, Abby and Emily.
Yes.
We're glad you were here.
Thank you.
Awesome
Yeah.
Scotland and England Week Without Wallers.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
glad you listened in on the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Good job, BK.